Hello, Midnights. You are listening to your favorite bedtime stories. Next up, a deep dive into Elena Danaan's book, A Gift from the Stars, Extraterrestrial Contacts and Guide of Alien Races, published in 2020. We hope you enjoy our stories. Let us know where you are tuning in from, and while you're here, please consider subscribing to our channel. It really helps keeping these stories coming. Thank you. Welcome to a journey that will stretch the boundaries of our minds, our history, and our entire worldview. When we look up at the night sky today, we see countless stars, distant galaxies, and a yawning, seemingly silent void. But what if that void isn't empty at all? What if the cosmos is teeming with life, alliances, ancient conflicts, and secret treaties, and Earth is right in the thick of it, without the vast majority of humanity having the slightest clue? Today, we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating, controversial, and detailed works of modern exopolitics and the New Age UFO movement, the book, A Gift from the Stars, Extraterrestrial Contacts and Guide of Alien Races by Elena Danaan. Published in 2020, this book has triggered waves of enthusiasm, as well as fierce criticism. It presents itself as nothing less than a comprehensive galactic atlas, a manual detailing 110 extraterrestrial races that directly or indirectly influence the fate of humanity. But we won't stop at a simple summary today. We are going a step further. We will put Elena Danaan's claims to the test and compare them with real-world findings. In recent years, more has happened in the field of UAP disclosures, official government documents, and astrophysical research than in the previous 70 years combined. Where do the author's fantastic descriptions overlap with the revelations of whistleblowers and intelligence reports? Where must we draw clear boundaries? From a scientific perspective, buckle up, take your time. We are diving deep into the hidden chronicle of the universe. To understand the book, A Gift from the Stars, we must first understand the woman who wrote it. Elena Danaan is not your typical science fiction author. She is a former French field archaeologist who trained at prestigious institutions and spent years working at real excavation sites in Egypt, France, and other parts of the world. This scientific background in archaeology and epigraphy gives her a level of methodical credibility in the eyes of her followers that is rarely found in the often chaotic UFO scene. However, her life took a radical turn that isn't found in university textbooks. Danaan claims that her connection to the cosmos is not a theoretical concept, but is based on profound, personal, and at times traumatic experiences. The book begins with her personal contact history, which dates back to her early childhood. Danaan recounts that at the age of just 9, she was abducted by predatory extraterrestrial beings. According to her account, these entities were the Eben, a specific highly unempathic faction of the infamous Grey Aliens from the Zeta Reticuli star system. She describes the traumatic experience of medical experiments, the feeling of helplessness on a cold metallic examination table, and the panicked fear of these beings with their oversized black soulless eyes. But in the middle of this nightmare, the unexpected happened, a rescue operation. Elena Danaan reports that a benevolent group boarded the Eben ship, luminous beings who physically closely resembled highly evolved Nordic humans freed the young girl. Among her rescuers was a being who would fundamentally shape the rest of her life, Thor Han Eredian, a starship commander of the Ahil, a civilization from the Pleiades star cluster. Thor Han and his team rescued the child and returned her safely to Earth, but they left a physical and energetic implant in her head. Unlike the control implants used by the malevolent Greys, Danaan explains that this device served as a bridge for communication and protection. It allowed Thor Han to maintain a telepathic connection with Elena for decades, stabilizing her frequency and preparing her for her future role as an emissary. For many years, Elena Danaan kept these experiences a secret. She lived a normal life, studied, worked as an archaeologist, and secretly recorded the information she received via the implant and through direct mental transmissions from Thor Han. Only when the time was right, and when, according to the cosmic beings, humanity stood on the threshold of a collective awakening, did she decide to share her knowledge. The result of these decades of information transfers is a gift from the stars. The book is thus presented not as a product of her imagination, but as a disclosure document commissioned by the Galactic Federation. The absolute core and largest section of the book is an encyclopedic compendium that details 110 different extraterrestrial species. Each race is characterized by its physical appearance, planetary origin, technological orientation, and spiritual alignment. Danaan illustrated many of these beings herself, based on her telepathic visions and contacts. To make this massive amount of information digestible, Danaan divides the cosmic civilizations into two major opposing camps. It is a classic cosmic battle between light and shadow, between freedom and absolute control. Ultimately, the most influential races described in the book can be summarized into 5 defining groups. The Ahil originate from the planet Era in the Taygeta star system within the Pleiades. This is the race to which Danaan's mentor, Thor Han Eredian, belongs. Physically, they are described as flawless, tall, often with blonde or light hair, deep blue or emerald green eyes, and an aura of profound empathy and wisdom. They are biologically closely related to humans, or rather, humanity shares a large portion of its DNA with them. The Ahil are leading members of the Galactic Federation of Worlds. Their technology is based on crystal energy and anti-gravity, and their ships, often described as silver-gleaming discs or cigar-shaped motherships, operate on high vibrational frequencies. Their agenda regarding Earth is purely protective and advisory. They do not directly interfere with our free will, but they attempt to shield us from self-destruction and the encroachments of darker forces. The Ohorai originate from the system of the red giant star Arcturus in the constellation of Boots. They are among the most technologically and spiritually advanced civilizations in our galaxy. Danaan describes them as beings who have largely transcended dense materiality. They often have bluish or translucent skin, large heads, almond-shaped eyes, and a slender stature. The Ohorai frequently act as intergalactic mediators, healers, and scientists. Their ships are organic, living constructs steered by pure consciousness. For humanity, they serve as spiritual teachers who work in the background to stabilize Earth's planetary energy grid, facilitating humanity's transition into higher dimensions. Danaan dedicates a particularly fascinating chapter to the Anunnaki, known in earthly myth as the Anunnaki. They originally hail from the Sirius B system and the hypothetical or wandering planet Nibiru. Contrary to the popular theories of authors like Zecharia Sitchin, who often portrayed the Anunnaki as purely gold-hungry tyrannical slave masters, Danaan paints a more nuanced picture. The Anunnaki are physical giants, often between 8 and 13 feet tall, with bronze or gold-toned skin and extremely long lifespans. According to Danaan, their civilization is split into different factions. While one faction under the leadership of entities like Enlil manipulated and enslaved humanity, another faction under Enki sought to gift humanity spiritual knowledge and genetic upgrades. The book claims that the era of Anunnaki tyranny on Earth is over, and benevolent factions have returned to repair the damage of the past. On the opposite side of the cosmic spectrum stands the greatest threat to galactic freedom, the Siakar Empire. These beings originally hail from the Alpha Draconis star system and are described as terrifying, gigantic reptilians. They possess scaly skin, often greenish, brown, or in the case of the royal caste, pure white, along with powerful tails and in some cases massive wings. The Chiaka are a warlike imperial culture geared toward absolute supremacy genetic exploitation, and harvesting emotional energy through fear and terror. The book describes how the Reptilians infiltrated Earth thousands of years ago. They established deep underground military bases, DUMBs, and formed alliances with corrupt human elites to keep humanity in a permanent state of fear, war, and energetic slavery. Closely linked with the Reptilians are the various factions of the Greys, particularly the Eben from the Orion Belt and the Nebu from Zeta Reticuli. These are the beings said to be responsible for the majority of classic UFO abduction reports since the 1950s. Danaan describes them as a collective hive-mind consciousness that operates largely without emotion, relying on pure logic and technocracy. According to the book, it was the Eben who entered into secret treaties with the US government, including the infamous MJ-12 Committee in the 1950s, exchanging technology for the right to abduct humans and harvest biological material for genetic experiments. Their goal was to save their own degenerating race by hybridizing with human DNA, while simultaneously tightening their control over Earth. A Gift from the Stars is not just a catalogue of life forms. It is also a history book that completely flips our accepted historical narrative on its head. Danaan designs an epic chronology in which our planet, referred to by extraterrestrials affectionately as Terra or Ki, has been the centerpiece of an intergalactic tug-of-war for millions of years. According to the book, modern Homo sapiens is not the product of a purely random Darwinian evolution on Earth. Instead, we are the result of a massive intergalactic genetic project. A total of 22 different extraterrestrial races are said to have contributed their DNA to our genetic code over millions of years. This makes humans a biological anomaly in the universe, a kind of cosmic royalty possessing an immense, though currently dormant, potential. It was precisely this genetic potential, this capacity for deep emotion and multidimensional perception, that made Earth a prime target for the dark empires of the Siakar and the Nebu Greys. The book details how these manipulative races steered human history over millennia. They installed hierarchical religions to suppress human consciousness, incited wars to harvest life energy, often referred to in New Age jargon as loosh, and controlled global financial and power structures from the shadows. Major historical monuments like the pyramids of Gizeh, Stonehenge, or the ruins in South America were not tombs or primitive cult sites, according to Danaan. Highly advanced technological installations, energy grid nodes, stargates and communication platforms built by or with the help of extraterrestrial architects. Yet the book also carries a message of hope. It describes the existence of the Galactic Federation of Worlds, a massive alliance of hundreds of peaceful star nations. This federation operates under strict rules, including a prime directive that forbids direct interference in the natural development of a species. However, if a young species is being manipulated and enslaved from the outside, as was the case with Earth, the Federation has the right to intervene. Danaan claims that a covert cosmic war has been fought in our solar system over recent decades. The Galactic Federation, in cooperation with a secret human alliance, the Earth Alliance, has reportedly cleared out the underground reptilian bases, pushed back the Grey fleets, and liberated bases on the Moon and Mars. Earth is now said to be in the final stages of liberation, leaving the dark forces in retreat, which explains why their control mechanisms on the surface currently appear desperate and chaotic. Beyond physical battles, starships, and races, the book possesses a deeply spiritual, metaphysical layer. The messages Elena Danaan received from Thor Han and other beings describe the universe as a living, breathing, multidimensional field of consciousness stemming from a single primordial origin, the Source. A central aspect of this cosmology is the nature of time. For highly evolved races, time is not a linear path running relentlessly from the past into the future. Instead, time is described as a sphere or a fractal web. All timelines exist simultaneously. Highly advanced beings are capable of moving through these timelines, calculating probabilities, and projecting consciousness across the boundaries of space and time. According to the book, Earth's humanity currently resides in the third density or dimension, 3D, a plane heavily characterized by materiality, duality, separation, and the ego. However, our entire planet and solar system are currently moving through a region of space flooded with high-energy cosmic frequencies. This is forcing Earth into an evolutionary quantum leap, an ascension into the fifth dimension, 5D. In the fifth dimension, the illusion of separation dissolves. Telepathy, energetic healing, recognizing the interconnectedness of all life, and accessing collective galactic knowledge will become normal for humans. The book thus functions as a spiritual guide. It urges readers to raise their personal vibrational frequency. This is achieved not through technology, but by overcoming fear, anger, and conditioning, and by practicing unconditional love, compassion, and recognizing one's own inner sovereignty. We are not victims of cosmic powers, the message states, but powerful creator beings who have simply forgotten who we are. Now that we have explored the complex and fascinating universe of Elena Danaan, we must take a step back. We need to look past the lens of fascination and lay down the hard facts of our real world alongside it. Where does humanity actually stand today regarding extraterrestrial life? And how do Danaan's accounts hold up when compared to reality? Let's begin with the most explosive area, the exopolitical and political reality. When one read Elena Danaan's book in 2020, claims about secret treaties, government cover-up programs, and the existence of non-human intelligences sounded to the mainstream like pure conspiracy theory. However, the last few years have dramatically shifted that boundary. Since the historic under-oath testimony of whistleblower David Grush before the US Congress in 2023, and the subsequent legislative initiatives, the official stance of the world's most powerful governments has fundamentally transformed. The US Congress fully implemented the Pursue program, presidential unsealing and reporting system for UAP encounters. This legislation legally mandates intelligence agencies and the military to systematically declassify UAP data stretching back decades. Non-human intelligence, NHI, in official congressional hearings and reports from agencies like AARO, All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, officials no longer dismiss sightings as weather balloons. The official terminology used today is non-human intelligence. This fundamentally aligns with Danaan's core premise: we are not alone, and governments are aware of it. Crash retrieval programs. Whistleblowers have testified under oath to the existence of secretive legacy programs that retrieve crashed or intact craft of non-human origin and attempt to understand them via reverse engineering. This strongly echoes Danaan's accounts of secret treaties and technological exchanges dating back to the mid-20th century. Haim Escht's testimony in late 2020, almost exactly matching the release of Danaan's book, the former head of Israel's space security program, Haim Escht, caused a global stir. In an interview, he factly claimed that a galactic federation exists, that secret agreements had been made between these aliens and the US, and that an underground base exists on Mars where Americans and extraterrestrials work together. His exact phrasing, Galactic Federation, is a striking parallel to Danaan's terminology. Despite these fascinating parallels, we must examine the differences in details. In none of the officially declassified documents, verified whistleblower testimonies, or military radar data do the names Ahil, Siaka, or specific catalogues of 110 distinct races appear. The official investigation layer operates on a much more cautious, purely physical foundation. It deals with anomalies, craft exhibiting transmedium capabilities moving seamlessly between space, air, and water, and biological traces. Danaan's highly detailed cosmic drama remains an unverified narrative on the political stage. Reality confirms the existence of a phenomenon, but it does not, yet, validate the granular soap opera of a galactic war. Let us leave the corridors of politics and turn to hard natural science. How compatible is the worldview of a gift from the stars with modern astronomy, astrophysics, and biology? Elena Danaan describes her mentor, Thor Han, as a highly evolved being whose civilization has flourished for millions of years in the Pleiades star cluster, specifically within the Taygeta system. For astronomers, this claim presents a massive biological and physical riddle. The Pleiades, also known as the Seven Sisters, is an open star cluster in the constellation of Taurus. Thanks to precise measurements from space telescopes like Gaia, we know its composition very well. The Pleiades are extremely young. Their age is estimated to be between 100 and roughly 150 million years old. For comparison, our Sun is about 4.6 billion years old. It took billions of years for Earth to develop stable, complex, and eventually intelligent life. Astrophysically speaking, a star system that is only 100 million years old is still in its absolute infancy. The stars there are hot, blue giants that burn through their fuel incredibly fast and emit intense ultraviolet radiation. Planet formation in such systems is usually still in a chaotic phase of heavy asteroid bombardment. The idea that a biological, human-like species could evolve there over millions of years into spiritual mastery fundamentally contradicts everything we understand about stellar evolution and astrobiology. On the flip side, modern astronomy strongly supports Danaan's baseline assumption that the universe is full of life, supporting worlds. Thanks to the ongoing data from the James Webb Space Telescope, JWST, and subsequent exoplanet missions, our view of the galaxy has shifted radically. We now know that, statistically, almost every star in our Milky Way is orbited by at least one planet. The JWST has successfully analyzed the atmospheres of Earth, sized planets in habitable zones, such as the TRAPPIST-1 system, and detected gases like carbon dioxide, water vapor, and potential biosignatures like dimethyl sulfide. The scientific community agrees. Life in the universe is not just possible, it is statistically highly probable. The Fermi paradox, where is everybody, is crumbling. Another scientific critique of Danaan's descriptions is the overwhelming prevalence of humanoid races. The vast majority of the 110 species she describes possess 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, 2 eyes, and a mouth, often looking strikingly like us, save for variations in skin tone, height, or ear shape. Evolutionary biology on Earth shows us that body plans are a direct product of environmental conditions, gravity, atmospheric pressure, and random mutations. If life develops on a planet with entirely different gravity, different stellar radiation, and a completely different chemical baseline, it is evolutionarily highly improbable that it would almost always mirror a Western European human, like the Ahil or an Earth reptile. Danaan explains this away in her book via the intentional genetic seeding, panspermia, by a primordial race. From the perspective of mainstream biology, however, this humanoid universe looks more like a projection of human fears, desires, and 1960s-70s science fiction tropes, like Star Trek, than a realistic depiction of exobiological diversity. If we wish to treat Elena Danaan's accounts neither as absolute literal reality nor as deliberate fabrication, we must explore the realm of psychology. How do such profound, detailed, and deeply felt experiences come to be? Elena Danaan emphasizes that many of her detailed memories of abductions and information regarding star races were brought to the surface through methods like hypnosis, deep meditation, and telepathic trance states, channeling, In modern psychology and neuroscience, the phenomenon of recovered memories is a highly sensitive and contested field. Research into memory plasticity consistently demonstrates that the human brain does not function like an infallible video recorder. Our memory is constructive. When an individual is placed into a hypnotic state, especially following a genuine childhood trauma, the brain becomes highly susceptible to suggestion and a phenomenon known as confabulation. This means the brain unconsciously fills in memory gaps using images, stories, and archetypes it absorbed throughout life via pop culture, films, books, or spiritual beliefs. These newly generated memories feel completely real to the individual. They can pass polygraph tests because the person subjectively believes they are telling the truth, even if the objective reality is entirely different. Furthermore, we must consider the neurobiological phenomenon of sleep paralysis and archetypal projections. The experience of waking up at night unable to move, sensing a malevolent presence in the room, the classic gray alien, and subsequently being rescued by beings of light, is a globally documented experience. In previous centuries, people spoke of demons, incubi, or angels. In the space age, our collective unconscious translates these profound psychological experiences into the imagery of extraterrestrials, starships, and galactic federations. This makes the experience psychologically real and deeply meaningful for Elena Danaan, acting as a tool to process and heal childhood trauma, but it strips away the foundation required for objective scientific proof. When we assemble all the pieces, the mesmerizing, intricate narratives of a gift from the stars, the stunning political shifts toward UAP transparency, the astrophysical hurdles, and the profound psychological mechanisms at play, what is the ultimate conclusion? Elena Danaan's book is undoubtedly a masterpiece of modern mythology. It fills a spiritual vacuum in a technocratic, often cold world with an epic narrative of purpose, hope, and cosmic belonging. It tells us, you are not alone. You are not an insignificant accident on an insignificant rock in the middle of nowhere. You are a cherished, genetically precious part of a vast galactic family. You have a seat at the cosmic table, and light will ultimately triumph over darkness. This message holds immense emotional and spiritual healing power for thousands of people worldwide. At the same time, we must keep our feet firmly planted on the ground of reality. We live in an era where the existence of non-human intelligence is being taken seriously by official entities. The reality of UAP disclosures is thrilling, mysterious, and shatters old dogmas, but it unfolds in small, meticulous, scientifically and politically verifiable steps. A gift from the stars runs miles ahead of this real-world development, leaping straight into a fully realized cosmic drama. It is a book to be read with an open mind, but also with a healthy dose of critical thinking. One can internalize its spiritual teachings on love, raising one's frequency, and reclaiming inner sovereignty without necessarily accepting the literal existence of 110 precisely. Catalogued races, or the biological colonization of the young Pleiades. Perhaps the truth awaiting us through official declassifications in the coming years will look entirely different from what Elena Danaan describes. Perhaps it will be even stranger and more incomprehensible than anything our sci-fi trained imaginations could ever dream up. Yet books like hers prepare human consciousness for one vital realization: the moment we finally recognize that the cosmos is alive. Whether it turns out to be androgynous light beings, reptilian empires, or simply a multi-dimensional phenomenon entirely alien to us, humanity's journey to the stars has only just begun. And we are all eyewitnesses to this monumental transition